Hello, and welcome to Collect Jurassic World. I'm Victoria.
And this is Tim.
And we are your hosts on this adventure through all things Jurassic World.
All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of Collect Jurassic World. We're back at it already with another episode with tons to talk about. So I will go ahead and throw it over to the park control room here at Jurassic World where Victoria will get us started.
Hey Tim, hey Jurassic fans. It's great to have you guys back in Collect Jurassic World. We're doing okay here. We're all fine here. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. There's been some Brachiosaurus sighted on the horizon, so it's a great day at the park, to say the least.
It's a great day. Before we go any further, I need to say thank you for the font.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's a great font, I gotta say.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about. Some things from Chronicle Collectibles, some things with Beasts of the Mesozoic, of course, Mattel Jurassic, and some things around the Jurassic universe. We got a little bit of word on something a little while ago that maybe we'll just touch on when the time comes.
Great.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and kick things off with Chronicle Collectibles. So I think that they announced something, or not announced, but they put something up for pre-order that we had known about for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, I think we saw it at San Diego Comic-Con, maybe even before that, but these like really high-end, what do you call these, like figures?
Dolls.
I mean, they're not statues. Dolls? Yeah, dolls. Let's go with dolls. Dr. Grant and Velociraptor. Obviously Grant, one of the main characters in Jurassic Park, so they're starting off with an iconic character, and then the raptor, of course, naturally. But these look great. I mean, I'm kind of blown away by the raptor especially.
Yeah, and you're right. They had shown him a while back. I think it was Comic-Con 2017. I had first seen the Dr. Grant. They had him, and they also had a 12-inch Owen, as I recall, on display at a Comic-Con. And I wasn't really, taken with either of them at the time. They had Grant on display again this past year, and still, I didn't think he was that impressive because they're pricing it like a Hot Toys figure, and that's essentially what it is. It's not a doll; it's an action figure. But it's it's like a $230 or $240 doll essentially, and it's not Hot Toys quality. I mean, that's just simply the case. It doesn't look that great to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to find pictures of when they first revealed it, but I'm only pulling up ones from this latest reveal. Here it is. Yeah, I mean, it definitely. It almost looks like an old school 1970s Disneyland animatronic. It's got it's human, but it's also a little bit cartoony almost, like the way they shaded the skin. He's got stage makeup on, but the outfit is there, like the pants, the shirt, the hat. So it's Alan Grant, but there's something about the face that's just I don't know. It's just a little unnatural, I'd say. But in some of these photos they have, if you go to Chronic Collectibles, they have him holding the baby raptor and a couple other photos. I mean, it definitely gets the job done. I think we've talked here before. We're not big high-end collectors. So, when you're talking about something that's this expensive, I want it to be amazing. And this is for me, it's a little much for $230.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly, that was a really good way to describe it, like a Disneyland, like a little animatronic that looks pretty static. I mean, that's basically what it looks like. It's not Hot Toys quality. I mean, Hot Toys, I think, is the pinnacle of collectible, figures, in terms of likeness, in terms of authenticity. This doesn't really touch that, but it's priced the same way as a Hot Toys, if not a little bit more in some cases. So I do find it a bit disappointing. But the raptor, on the other hand, I did see this one at Comic-Con in person, and I thought it looked fabulous. And I think it even looks better now in the photos that they're showing.
The raptor looks awesome. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit more later in the episode about the Amber Collection raptor, but kind of in stark contrast with that. This raptor just looks so cool. It looks like a maquette, like a Stan Winston model. And it's cool that it has a little bit of articulation. It's got the arms and legs move, and it looks like the jaw moves too. And the paint job just looks really great. Sharp, the sharp teeth, which I appreciate. It just looks like it's not like a posed, very nice statue from Iron Studios or something, but that articulation kind of adds something in its own way, and I kind of appreciate the neutral pose that it has.
Yeah, the photos look excellent. Like you noted, the coloration is so spot on, I think, to what I imagine a Jurassic Park Velociraptor looks like. And
Yeah.
the sculpt is just beautiful. I mean, everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they did add the articulation in there, it's not just a statue. Like, I'm not a huge statue person at all because I like things that can do things. And
Mm-hmm.
a statue just stands there like this. You can actually pose it. And this is like basically like the Amber Collection Velociraptor, like on steroids.
Yeah, it's even got a articulated neck. I see. So,
Yeah.
looks like articulation in the shoulder, the elbow, and the hand from these photos. So,
Yeah, the knees.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's got plenty of articulation, and it is a little expensive. It does cost $450. But the good news is that Chronicle does offer payment plans. I've never bought anything from them that required a payment plan, so I'm strongly considering it. I mean, I haven't rolled it out because I mean, this like as a standalone piece, I think would be fabulous to have. So I'm
Yes.
really strongly
Yeah.
thinking about it.
I'm right there with you. Like I'm strong. I haven't said I'm definitely gonna do it, but I'm just like every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I can't really find a reason besides the price that I don't want this. I definitely want it on display. I
Yeah.
definitely think it looks great. It's just that price. It's like, whew, that's a lot of money. But the payment plans do make it easier. You don't have to think about it as much when you're
Yeah.
shelling out that much money. But
Yeah, no, totally. And you
wish
also
they'd
get
have
the
a
hands.
coupon day or something. Because yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, you get extra hands. That looks like you can kind of have like the fingers kind of tucked under the arm. You can have
Yep.
them out like an attack, and then you can just kind of have a neutral pose. Man, this thing's face just looks awesome. Oh,
It
man.
does. It looks mean.
Very
and it's got
cool.
a hard hat helmet, like for a construction worker for Jurassic Park. And then
Oh,
it's also
nice.
got, is that like a stun baton or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it kind of looks like some of these photos too. Some of these poses, it looks like a lost world raptor too. Like, it kind of bridges both of those designs a little bit in some of these photos, which is cool. I mean, it kind of makes me think that they could take this and repaint it with a lost world raptor and
Easily.
and different eye color and everything, and that would be great too. Because I mean, the Lost World Raptor, of course, is awesome looking. It's right up there for me design wise with the original Raptor.
Yeah, no, they could easily do that, and I do appreciate that they didn't, repaint blue. Not that they have a blue in, like this yet, but I do appreciate that it has like an actual Jurassic Park head sculpt.
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely looks like they tried to nail them. I mean, maybe they had ILM scans or something, but they definitely nailed that, whatever they did. So, no, these are really cool. I just wish they were a little bit cheaper. I would be a little bit more excited about them, but still, like, a few years ago, we wouldn't even dream of getting Jurassic collectibles like this. So,
Oh, exactly.
beggars can't be choosers, and if it's going to be expensive, at least it looks great in the terms of the Raptor. And hopefully Alan Grant maybe, gets a little bit more lively looking for when he goes into mass production.
Yeah, let's hope so. And I believe that they have a different company that's doing the 12-inch human figures that usually does like medieval like knights and stuff like that, things that don't often have head sculpts. So maybe that's part of the reason.
Interesting. That is interesting. Yeah. Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. So also an update on Beasts of the Mesozoic. We talked about it in the last episode, how they have the Ceratopsian series going. Just wanted to note real quick that that campaign has reached its full funding. So it is definitely going to be going through. And they're unlocking several of the stretch goals little by little. So, every day or two, more stretch goals have been getting unlocked.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're probably going to unlock all of them, just like they did with the Raptors. So very exciting stuff.
I think they hit 175,000 today. It was a bigger unlock, I think.
Yeah, crazy.
But I love the artwork they keep releasing too. I mean, the figures look great, but he's I think we mentioned this a little bit in the last episode. He's partnered with different paleo artists to kind of realize the packaging for these, and some of the last ones that have come out for stretch goals are just amazing looking, just as like a print on the wall. It's top notch stuff. And you get it with a figure, so it's just kind of a complete package.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing we want to mention is we talked also last time about the Reborn Rexes. So they had a couple of Rexes that they were working on for their grab and go line. Now, one of them was it was like the reddish looking Rex that we saw, wasn't it? And then also the one with the skull face last time.
Right. Yeah. The one that's kind of inspired by Dinosaur Evolution, and then more of like a Jurassic Rex.
Yep. So now they also have a brown Rex and a green Rex. So these look maybe mildly inspired by Jurassic Park, because brown and green, obviously. And they've done that before with their actual Jurassic Park sculpts. So it's kind of weird that they felt the need to do it again, but, more options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I to me, they don't really remind me too much of Jurassic. They just look like kind of cool, vibrant designs. Not as much as the Rexes they make that you can just straight up tell by their coloring that it's inspired by a Nublar Rex or whatever. But I really like the green one especially. It's something new. Even though we've seen green T-Rexes and brown T-Rexes, I just feel like obviously the quality they bring to these figures, even though they're grab and go, which I guess means they're not quite as high end as some of their other releases, like the paint quality here is just really nice, and they can take these simple colors and really make them sing with their paint application.
Yeah, totally. They always do a great job with sculpts. They always do a great job with paint, and I think these are going to be fun, whether you collect one or you collect them all.
Yeah, I noticed this on their post. Funny you should say collect them all. They said, remember guys, G&G stands for grab and go, not catch them all. So just choose the ones that match your collections, like choosing themed skins for your favorite game characters. Be bold and be different. That's interesting to see a company not telling you to buy them all. Maybe they don't have enough to go around and they're trying to measure expectations. But I mean, if you're definitely the collector of these, I don't know why you wouldn't just pick up all four. I still think I'm locked into the skull face one. I think that's the one I'm going to be picking up. It'll be my first Reborn figure I get, but I think I'm going to start with these grab and go figures because that sounds a little bit more like my style.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Not sure which one I'm going to get. I'll definitely do at least one, and it could be that one or maybe the red one. I'm kind of between those two, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, cool stuff. I hope they make more of these grab and go figures too. So hopefully these do well and we can see some other figures and some other Jurassic inspired figures in this line. We're swinging our sights over here to asset tracking, where we have a couple of really exciting things on the radar, in the water, on the land, lots of cool stuff. In the air, I should say, water, land, air. Lots of things we're tracking here, but we'll go ahead and start with the lagoon over here, which we have the Savage Strike Plesiosaurus figure that's being shipping out from Amazon. If you placed an order for it like in April or something, way back, it's shipping. I don't think they've been available for order since then. I don't think you could go on right now and order them. But if you did, you're getting them in the mail. But more importantly, they're becoming available somewhere else.
Yeah, you can also get them through Kohl's. This was a very interesting development because I think it was maybe a couple episodes ago we talked about how they were selling the Triceratops, right, through the website.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, was that Macy's or Kohl's? I don't even remember.
Oh,
but,
I don't
it is an interesting development because Kohl's...
Same thing.
Kohl's has had some interesting Jurassic releases, some first, so it's kind of cool to see they're getting the Plesiosaurus.
Yeah, Kohl's has had a couple of exclusives, like the 12-inch pack. They also had the one with the red raptor and the blue Gallimimus, and it's interesting that they're taking point on the Savage Strike Plesiosaurus because, like you mentioned, Amazon solicited them back in April for pre-order, and we're barely getting them in October. And, now Kohl's has them up for ship to store, I think, if you spend over a certain amount, or ship them to your home, which is probably the easier thing to do. I think it's about
$8 to ship it to your home. So for a $10 figure, people are having a hard time. But this is probably going to be... the Plesiosaur, we should just say it's one of the most coveted figures, whether you're talking about the battle damage version or this version. It's an all-new species for Jurassic, so it's kind of worth the price if you ask me.
No, it is. And one of the things that I thought was kind of cool was that, I ordered mine, obviously from Amazon. I ordered 2 of them. And, Tim, it was Force Friday last week. So I got my order in for one of their carbonized Sith Troopers Black Series. And so that came in a few days ago, and it was flanked on either side with both of the Plesiosaurs. So that was a pretty cool one to open up.
That's awesome. No, that's so cool. Yeah. He rode those into battle. That's great.
Yeah.
So if you get it from Kohl's, like we were talking about, they're shipped to store, or you can ship it to your home for a fee. But I've heard that if you go into the store and like go into the kiosk in the store next to the customer service, you can place the order from there and ship it to your home for free.
Oh, wow.
Which is nice. The catch is this thing's been going in and out of stock. So, like I think today it was back in stock. I'm not sure where it is this second, but it sounds like they're kind of, like any other retailer. They're getting them, they're selling through, they're adding them back to their store. So keep an eye out for that. But it's definitely the only place we know of right now that you can kind of easily get it, since Amazon doesn't have it listed, and no word from Target or Walmart or anybody about carrying it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So it is good to have another option for that. Of course, we're hoping that Walmart will get more of the battle damage version or the Savage Strike version, and that Target will carry it as well. But in the meantime, it seems like Kohl's is probably going to be your best option if you're hunting for the Plesiosaurus.
Yeah, I kind of have this like theory, not to like go off on a tangent here, but
Hold on. I got to get my tin hat out.
No. It's not that kind of theory. But I feel like, stores like Target and Walmart, they buy big. So, when Savage Strike figures come out, they buy a ton of the first wave and a ton of the second wave, and maybe they buy a little bit of the third wave, but they have to sell through their first few waves that they've completely bought up massive stock in. And then it takes a while for these later releases to find their way out. Whereas a company like Kohl's maybe doesn't buy in quite the volume. They're not a toy selling company, even though they have them in their stores. So maybe they can kind of circulate through the waves a little quicker and get to some of the later waves. And I feel like that kind of explains some situations we've seen with Jurassic, like with battle damage at Walmart. It's like you're not seeing those later waves, or certain stores get like the second wave of attack pack way before other stores do. It's very interesting, but I feel like maybe that's why we're seeing Savage Strike Plesiosaurus hit Kohl's already and not really be fulfilled by some of the other bigger retailers.
That's a really
total
good
theory,
point.
though.
No, that's a good point. That would make sense, because we do know that happened with Savage Strike at Walmart, and then at Target to a lesser degree when they were really heavy on that last Savage Strike wave with all the it was really like a really big wave. Yeah, so they're still out there. Like every time I go to Walmart, like doesn't matter what Walmart it is, I know that I'm going to find those on the shelves still. So
yeah, it is interesting. The Dilophosaurus seems to be one that's you barely ever see. I just saw one today in Target for the first time, and I was like, oh wow, haven't seen one of these on shelf in a while. So it's kind of interesting to see what figures are more popular than others. But I mean, the Plesiosaur, it's a popular one. I don't see why they can't work that into a readily available wave. But
yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't put it past Mattel to repaint it down the road, but I mean, who wants to wait 6 months? We want our Plesiosaurs. We want them yesterday.
Right. I feel like kids love it too. It's not like it's just some, like niche dinosaur that only adult would appreciate, adult collector. Loch Ness? I mean, come on. Universal appeal here.
Yeah, marine reptile. It's not a dinosaur. We don't want to get tomatoes thrown at us.
That's right. I don't want the comments coming after me about my my paleontology follies that I make. Kind of a segue here. We talked about the Savage Strike Plesiosaur, but we also have the battle damage Plesiosaur that has yet to make a wide release here in the States. It was in the battle damage wave. I think the first 2019 battle damage wave included this Plesiosaurus, and it included the yellow Pteranodon battle damage, along with some other repaints, but that never came here.
Right. Yeah. So it's a very interesting development, because when was it that these were available in like Australia? That was like a long time ago, wasn't it?
It was a few months ago, definitely. And I want to say like 6 months ago it was in Mexico. I mean, it's been around the world for a while, just here and there.
Yeah. No, I know it was at least like springtime where people were, had them. They were picking them up from over there, and Walmart.com got them in, I think maybe like, when was this? A few months ago? 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, maybe a few months ago. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, they did get them in stock for like a second, literally, and sold out like that. And I think we were all hoping they would come back, but we just kept waiting and waiting.
Yeah, we kept waiting and waiting, and finally, about a week or two ago, we thought they had them in stock, or at least they had the Pteranodon in stock.
Yeah.
I know that people did order that one and they were able to get it. And I think it was kind of going in and out still, like even as recently as a few days ago. But
Yeah.
Plesiosaurus went up, and get this, they were both $7.76 each, which is pretty awesome.
That is
and
awesome.
I know multiple people who ordered the Plesiosaurus, myself included. I wanted another one to take underwater photos with and stuff.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we got our orders canceled. So those are not happening this time.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, that Pteranodon, like you said, has been in and out of stock. It's been in stock, for a few hours, for a few days even, which in the world of Jurassic collecting, if you're staying in stock for that long, then, they must have a good amount of stock, because we see toys sell out, these Cole's Savage Strike Plesiosaur is a great example. Like, it goes in stock and then it goes out of stock, like within the next 30 minutes. So, this yellow Pteranodon has been staying in stock. And so we also know that comes in the same case pack as the Plesiosaurus. So if they have one, they have the other. So when those Plesiosaurs finally went up, it sounded like a sure thing, $7.76. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you said, canceled. So a total bummer. I don't know what Walmart's doing with their Plesiosaurs, but
yeah, I don't know. I know that sometimes, like with Star Wars, they can special order like just one specific like creature from like Hasbro or a creature, like a figure from Hasbro. Like, I knew at Black Series they did this, and Target did it too with like Princess Leia in the 40th anniversary line. Like, they just ordered Leia for whatever reason. So I know that like the companies do have the capability of shipping out like solid case packs, but
yeah,
I mean, it would be kind of weird if they were doing it in this instance for Walmart for something like the Pteranodon, which so
like for an unpopular figure, it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, I just don't understand. We could really get our tinfoil hats out, and I could go deep on this, but I won't. But it is just interesting that they have readily available stock of one figure, and then the other figure from the same wave seems to be, seems to not be here. The only thing I can think of is that it's going up and selling out before most people notice. But I mean, the Jurassic community is so like networked and connected now. I feel like we would know if people were scoring it off Walmart.com, and I haven't seen anybody successfully order it and receive it myself.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Maybe it was just a blooper on their part, or maybe they meant to put them up, and who knows? It's Walmart. I mean, you can only speculate so much.
Maybe it's going to be Black Friday like last year, but with Plesiosaurs. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But I hope that one gets a better release, because as much as I like the Savage Strike version, I prefer the Battle Damage version. I just like the coloration better. So, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So
yeah, me too.
I hope it finds its way out.
Definitely. So the other big thing here, and I mean big, is that the Brachiosaurus has been in stores and it has been online. So it's been over a week now, right? Since people were first able to purchase it from the store. But even before that, you were able to confirm that it had a register lock on it, weren't you?
Yeah, it was supposed to come out on the 6th, Sunday the 6th, and we'd known about that for quite some time. But then, like, literally the week leading, and we'd seen Brickseek start receiving quantities of Brachiosaurus. People would go in and try to buy it and be told, like, not till the 6th. Anyway, like, I don't know, the Tuesday of that week before it came out, people started going into Target and actually being able to buy one. Like, it rang up fine, everything was good, and everyone rushed to Target, myself included. I know I have a Brachiosaurus, but I wanted one in box to keep in box, and I also had a friend who wanted one in New Zealand. So I ran to Target and was able to grab them myself. You decided to sleep, and you went the next day, and what happened?
Yeah, I went the next morning. I had something I had to do, pretty early. So I was like, okay, well, I'll make it to Target. It's still going to be pretty early, around 9 in the morning. So as soon as I got out of my appointment, I called around and, was checking like Brickseek. And I think when they had gone in stock the night before, when you were able to purchase, they were on Brickseek, right? Like it was showing like what stores had them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I tried a local store and it said that they were out of stock on Brickseek. So the nearest one that showed to have them was about a half hour's drive away, about an hour round trip. So I went ahead and called them. They confirmed, yep, we got it. We'll hold it for you here at the register. How many do you need? So, I drive over there. I'm all excited. I'm like, like stoked to, because I know in my head that I'm going to get the Brachiosaurus. I walk in. Head to the toy aisle just to check things out. And Tim, I just want to mention real quick that for whatever reason, older attack packs seem to be infiltrating my local Targets. And
yeah, you had some old ones from Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, like one
almost
Target.
Cool to see those at that point.
It is. It's the same way, but two separate Targets have had them now, and these are like we're talking like the Protoceratops, Attack Pack Blue, and Minmi. So Proceratosaurus. It's really interesting stuff. So two Targets have had those. I don't know what's going on, but I picked up another blue and another Minmi because why not?
Yeah, if I saw something from that old of a wave, I'd probably just buy it for the sheer novelty's sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, that blue has been out of circulation for a bit now, so it seems a little bit coveted.
No, totally. Yeah.
Even though it's bad, but whatever. So yeah, I go to the checkout or, to customer guest services to get my Brachiosaurus, and I see them behind the counter, and I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. The cashier, she's the same one that I spoke with on the phone. She was really nice, and she tried to scan it, and then she said her expression had just like changed. I'm like, oh no. And she said, I don't think I'm going to be able to sell these to you. And I kind of like my stomach just sank. I was thinking to myself, like, no way. I know that people are getting these, and it's all over Instagram right now. And I'm just thinking to myself, if they deny me, I am going to be so upset, so let down after driving, especially after driving all this way.
Right.
She calls her supervisor over, and he says, there's a street date on it. Fortunately, I can't get around that. I've heard before where sometimes they say that there is a way to get around it. So I'm like, well, I did drive all this way, and I can see that, the girl that I was speaking with on the phone was kind of like disappointed because she was like, well, she's the one that told me to come get them. But, nonetheless, she called their manager over. And as soon as he walked over, I kind of felt like, just looking at him. Okay, this guy's not going to do it. Like, I just had this feeling like just looking at him like this guy's so not going to do it. And sure enough.
There's definitely a prejudice sometimes for an adult buying toys where they're just like, okay, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, so we kind of bring it upon ourselves too sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah, and not to mention I had a work related appointment, so I was dressed in like a suit. I had like a blazer and black slacks and a floral shirt. So I definitely looked like an adult. And so he comes over and he tells me, it's illegal for us to sell these. We would be breaking the law and whatever contract we have with the company by, not honoring that street day. And, at this point, I don't really get upset with people. Like, I'm pretty chill, and it usually takes a little bit to kind of push my buttons. But in this case, I was starting to get a little bit upset because, not only had I driven over here, they had said, oh yeah, we got them for you. And, and I'd been seeing people getting them all over Instagram.
Yeah,
and I even pulled out
all over Instagram.
Exactly. So I even pulled out my phone and I said, look, this is all over Instagram. People are getting these. And then he tells me, well, I'm sorry if other stores are breaking the law, but we're not going to do that. So that didn't really help. I mean, he wasn't, I think at this point I was becoming like visually frustrated, not like all out anger or anything, but, irritated. But he wasn't doing anything to kind of like make me feel better.
Alleviate the situation. He
wasn't very apologetic. He was just kind of like, this is the way it is, too bad. And then he says, I'll hold one for you until Sunday if you want to come back and get it. And I said, well, can you hold both of them? And he said, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not fair to customers. And I said, well, how's it fair for me to have driven all the way over here to try and get it early? And
Victoria with that Brachiosaurus rage, just taking it out on the
Brachiosaurus size rage, yes.
Yeah.
But so I said, okay, well, just hold the one. I left, and I could tell that, the first lady that was helping me, I could tell she was kind of like, she looked bummed out, at the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, no worries, it is what it is. So I felt bad because, like I told you at the time, like I was becoming visibly flustered with the whole thing. So I called the manager and I said, hey, that you're holding, the Brachiosaurus for me. I just wanted to thank you for doing that. And, I do apologize that I was getting a little bit frustrated. And, he kind of started saying, oh, I understand, you drove a long way and this and that. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome. everyone should be like that when they lose it on store employees. But yeah, I mean, your experience is definitely something that a lot of people had, and I kind of feel bad because, like, obviously I have an Instagram account. When people started to find them, I started posting about it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, awesome!" A lot of people ran out that night. Other people like you know, had responsibilities or, you know, just didn't see the urgency in it and went out the next day. And if you were there in the morning, you could buy one. But like by 10 o'clock Central, the register lock just magically came back on, which is kind of what we're getting to here. Is that was like they suddenly were not available for sale. It was right back to the way it was, where you have to wait until the 6th. And a lot of people were messaging and tagging me and, you know, just making posts about how they went in and wanted to buy one. And like you, maybe they had one on hold, or they just found it on the shelf and they couldn't buy it. And they were, you know, very frustrated with Mattel, which is kind of misplaced because Mattel has nothing to do with what Target, you know, how Target wants to sell this. But frustrated with Target too, you know, angry with Target. And it's not like it's a conscious decision that Target made. Who even knows what kind of shenanigans happened in their system to kind of let it be for sale and not for sale, but definitely very frustrating for people regardless. And I just think, yeah, a lot of people were just like kind of thrown for a loop because, I mean, we both collect toys. I can't remember anything kind of going on sale, then not going on sale, then going on sale.
Exactly.
Because, that's what I'm kind of getting to is like it actually came off register lock again on like Friday or something. Yeah, like you were able to go buy one.
I did. But I went on Thursday night. We were talking about Wednesday. So then, the next night, I think you had said, you had messaged me and you said, oh, you know, they're in stock again, or, you know, people are able to buy them. So I looked on Brickseek, sure enough, you know, showed me all the local stores had them all of a sudden again. So that's when I started calling stores. And I called one Target. It was a little bit farther away, but they guaranteed me they had two. And I even said, hey, can you please scan it to make sure that I can actually buy it?
Take my credit card number over the phone, please.
I know, right? And she's like, yep, it's ringing up. You know, there's no problems. Just come get them. So that's what I did. And I got 2 Brachiosaurs. I was very happy. But then, like you say, the lock was back on like the next day.
Yeah, it's so weird. And, you know, it's not illegal for them to sell them. That's definitely the manager kind of using fear to like dissuade you. It probably breaks some sort of contract. And then what you said about them being away around the register lock, I've talked to a few people who've kind of, you know, maybe had someone as helpful as they possibly could be at Target in your situation. And they did everything they could to get around it and couldn't. Short of like just typing in like a dummy SKU and selling it to them for $50 maybe. But I had someone say that like the manager like tried as hard as they could to sell it to them and just couldn't like figure out a way to get around the lock without doing something that would mess up their inventory, you know? I mean, there's really nothing Target could do besides fix whatever weird glitch this was. I mean, who knows what that was about, but come Sunday, they were readily available and they've been available ever since. So a lot of people, you know, went out that morning, which is awesome. Yeah. I mean, I kind of, in hindsight, I wish it would have just been like that because it was kind of like a couple of false starts with people getting them and people getting angry about not being able to get them. But in the end, I feel like everyone who really wanted one went and waited in line first thing in the morning, they went and waited in line and got one. And it's just been kind of cool because it's like a universally celebrated toy.
It is. And, you know, I know that a lot of people were excited for the Spinosaurus. I know that a lot of people were excited for the Indominus Rex, but I don't think that the hype behind any other Mattel product has been anything like it's been for the Brachiosaurus.
Not even close. Yeah. And Hammond too, obviously was a big figure, but no, I don't think any of the things that you mentioned come close to Brachiosaurus, which is cool because sometimes I get a little, not like disappointed, but you know, there's a lot of new Jurassic fans who really prefer Jurassic World, or that was their introduction and that's kind of what they associate it with it. You kind of see the merchandise tailoring towards Jurassic World. So it's really cool to see something from the original movie, like straight up, like the box art has Hammond and Alan and Ellie in front of the lagoon. It's for the first movie, and seeing it just kind of be so well received and have so much enthusiasm around it. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's that good old legacy collection where they're trying to, you know, focus on the original films And, this product is a total hit. I mean, like you said, from the packaging to the actual product. I mean, it is a little weird how on the packaging, the Brachiosaurus looks more like the Jurassic World Brachiosaurus. But the actual toy is the Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus, no question about it.
Yeah, for sure. And we can totally get into that in our next segment. But I did want to just say that if there's anybody out there who's like, oh, I can't find one, I went to the store and they were already out. Someone must have bought them all, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it has been online on and off too on Target.com, but that's like a kind of like a blink and you miss it. But it has been going in stock online. It went in stock on Sunday, and it's kind of been, I think, every day. This morning it was like 6:30 because I was brushing my teeth when I got the notification. But so it's kind of been going in stock early morning, but also it's been restocking in the stores. Because just today, I had a couple people message me and say, hey, I found Brachiosaurus. This store was showing no stock, or I bought 2 from this store and they only had 2. So I was curious. I went out to my local Target where I bought 2 Brachiosaurus from, the only ones they had. And when I got there today, lo and behold, there was a new one on the shelf. So awesome. Stores are definitely restocking the figure. Now, if people keep buying it up and insanely, I don't know how long they'll keep stocking it, but I'm pretty sure this figure is going to be kind of carried on through the holidays. So rest assured, if you didn't get one on Sunday, like, you're going to have your chance.
I have a feeling, Tim, this is going to be one of those Black Friday deals where they mark it down to like, I don't know, $30, $40, and it's like a doorbuster, or it's promoted somehow. I would love that. Yeah, I would too. I mean, really, it's like Target's like flagship, like Jurassic Park toy this year. So, especially the latter half of the year. So I wouldn't doubt that would happen.
Right. I'm not like planning on opening a couple. I'm only opening the one I have, which is already open. But if they went for like $20-$25, like, I would be tempted to open another one. And I just kind of got reminded of something while we were talking about, you said a Black Friday deal for the holidays. Like, I had somebody message me on Instagram, a mother of 3 kids who drove to 3 different Targets to buy a Brachiosaur for each of their kids for Christmas morning. And I was like, wow, that's going to be like a memorable Christmas morning. Like, for me, probably for you have some special Christmas morning, and probably it is related to Jurassic, but like mine's the visitor center, or command compound that I got in the morning. So I can't even imagine these kids coming down and having 3 Brachiosaurs under the tree. That's going to be like epic. So that's awesome. Shout out to the mom who did that for her kids, because that's going to be great.
That's freaking glorious. Yeah, and then those kids in 25 years will have their own Jurassic Park podcast.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, exactly. Full circle.
All right, I'm in my trophy room looking around. I have dinosaurs. I have other things that aren't dinosaurs, but I have a lot of dinosaurs, and a lot of them are Jurassic World dinosaurs. So let's talk about what's going on in our trophy rooms. Tim, what's new over there in your trophy room?
Well, the Brachiosaur isn't technically new for me, but I feel like we should start off by talking about that because it's new for you, and it's going to be new for a lot of our listeners too. So that's definitely the biggest addition to probably, most people out there who are collecting Jurassic will be this Brachiosaurus. So you picked yours up about a week ago today, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
As soon as I got home, I had dinner. My husband got home late, and I had him sitting by the door, and I'm like, hey, notice anything new around here? And he had seen it when we went to Comic-Con, and as soon as he saw it, he's like, where are you going to put that? Like, he already knew it was happening.
And there was 2.
And there was 2. And of course, it looks a lot smaller when it's in the box. So that night, I couldn't wait. I went ahead and opened one up and assembled it. And he was just looking at it like, you're crazy, lady.
Yeah.
But I got it assembled, and my dog was all over it. She was like barking, and she thought it was like a new pet, like it was replacing her or something. So I was holding it. It's a lot bigger than her. I was holding it. I'm like, oh, my baby Brachiosaurus, I love you. Yeah. And she was just barking and going crazy. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's imposing for a small child and a small dog. So, I mean, it's a big, giant toy, and it's solid, too. I mean, it's hollow, and we've talked about that a little bit on the show before. but it's still like solidly built. Like the legs, the neck, the tail, like it just it has lots of bulk to it when you finally put it all together.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, having seen it at Comic-Con, I kind of already knew what to expect, but there's nothing like having your own, like when you have it at home and you've got it assembled. And I still have it on our dining room table because I haven't found a proper home for it. So it's been there the whole past week. And I mean, but I love looking at it. Like when I wake up, I walk out, I see it. And I mean, I just love looking at it. It's like, we talk about things that are impressive in this toy line, like the Indominus Rex, like the Super Colossal T-Rex, the various dinosaurs that we think are great. But there's been nothing like this. And I know that it's easy to say that just based on the size and based on the fact that it's the Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park. But there's also that it's insanely well sculpted and that the paint detail on it is exquisite. So it's just a gorgeous toy. I'm perfectly happy with it.
Yeah, the sculpt, like you said, especially like in the face, it's just very, very, very well done, and obviously very true to the design in the first movie. And it's an immense toy. And I think what, like, someone like you and someone like me who can't stop looking at it, like what you're looking at is a toy that you dreamed about when you were 7, 8, 9. You're like, man, it'd be cool if they made that, but I know they won't. It seems like so far-fetched to have this massive Brachiosaur figure. And all these years later, here it is for adult collectors and for kids too. So, I mean, it's just a very, very cool thing. In the US anyway, it's $50. So it's like a very affordable thing. It's not like they made this giant toy and then made it cost $200. I mean, it's all around a great experience when you take into account the packaging and everything.
Yeah. And it's funny because there's new products like for Star Wars. They just released like Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter, which by all accounts is an amazing vehicle. I just got mine in yesterday and I'm sure it's amazing. I haven't opened it yet. And they have Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, which is a repainted version that's been out for a long time. So these require a lot less plastic than this Brachiosaurus does, yet they are priced at twice the cost. So
for sure.
It's just crazy that Mattel got it out there at $50. I still can't really believe it's that cheap.
I really think that, any toy company makes a tremendous margin on their toys with any luck. I'm sure they make those X-Wings for $15. And the Brachiosaur is probably similarly, when you break it down, what it costs to make it. But I think they probably priced it to sell, the Brachiosaur figures. It's a herbivore. It's huge. It's probably not something that would really jump off the shelf at a high price, but I think they priced it in a way that was, attainable for just kind of kids shopping around the toy aisle and for collectors that might balk at having a giant toy in their collection that they don't have room for. But when it's $50, it's like, I'll buy it and I'll figure it out later. Exactly.
That's what I say every time. I always ask that question after I buy it. Where am I going to put it?
Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting too is that Star Wars is the most expensive licensing brand in terms of toys. Hasbro pays more than any other company does to mass manufacture toys based on Star Wars. To Disney Lucasfilm. The Jurassic brand is by many accounts or many unpublished accounts, I should say, is the second most expensive property in terms of licensing costs. Yet they're still able to pull it off at, $50. And I think that makes it extra incredible.
No, it does. And I think that, again, it just makes it that much more of kind of a attainable toy for just mostly kids, but also adult collectors. So kudos to Mattel for figuring it out.
Yeah, and not just that, Tim. What I'm noticing is that people that don't normally buy Jurassic World toys, they're buying the Brachiosaurus. So
yeah, it's a fever.
It is. It's obviously speaking to a lot of people, and that is so awesome to see.
Yeah, I really hope that, with anything that kind of has a little bit of success on social media and hopefully sales too, kind of informs future decisions for Mattel, for the Legacy Collection, for herbivore figures and, dinosaur designs that are aligned with the first Jurassic Park movie. I think there's just a lot that they could glean from this that could only mean good things on the way for Jurassic collectors like ourselves.
Yep, absolutely.
another big release we had, not in size, but sort of in hype. This past couple weeks is the Amber Collection, which we might have talked about a little bit in the last episode, but it's finally shipping from GameStop.com, and that was kind of a whole ordeal as well, which I don't think we'll get into because it's not quite as fun as the Brachiosaurus, but basically their pre-orders didn't ship for a lot of people, but they shipped for some people, and myself, I had to cancel my pre-order and reorder it to get it to finally ship, but they're here, and we got Ian Malcolm, and we got the Velociraptor, and you took a pretty close look in 2 different review videos on your channel, so you're probably more of an authority on this than I am, but what do you think of the Malcolm figure?
Oh man, that Malcolm figure is top notch. I'm not a huge fan of the 6.5 inch scale because that's just weird. I think 6 inch is kind of more where it's at. And I've been excited. I collect 6 inch, obviously, with Black Series, with Marvel Legends, with DC, with several things. So I've been on board with this from the beginning. But so 6.5 inch was kind of weird. But that aside, I've been all kinds of impressed with Malcolm. I mean, his silhouette is seems very screen accurate to me. He might be a little bit skinny, but he's very proportionate. He's got a great looking head sculpt, even though those glasses unfortunately don't come off. Yeah. The coloring is simple but very adequate. I mean, his skin tone even looks right. He's a little bit darker. And his hair, I think, was the one thing I was most impressed with in terms of sculpting.
Yeah, no, I think I've continually used the word crisp. It's just a very crisp figure.
Yes.
For someone like me or you who's very particular about paint application and all this stuff, it's like it's a very well done figure. There's not a lot of room for error, and it just the way like you said, the hair is sculpted, and the way that the kind of figure is tooled, if you will, with the articulation in the chest everywhere. It's just very well done. It's going to hold up well. It's easy to pose. I'm very, very, very impressed with it. $25 for this figure definitely feels about right for me. And you get some accessories too. You get like a water cup and a flare.
That water cup, by the way, is top notch.
It's really nice. They could have probably not even gone that far and just done like an empty cup or something, but It's got a little bit of water in it too. No ripple or anything, but still a nice touch. But yeah, I'm very impressed with the human figure. You mentioned the scale's a little awkward, and I've been thinking about that, and I have a theory, so we can put our tin hats on again. But I'm guessing that the reason they went for 6.5 inch versus 6 inch is the corresponding dinosaurs would be that much smaller, and then they would be getting that much closer to the core 3 3/4 line. So, to the uninformed buyer who sees a raptor for $8 and then a raptor for $30. That's only a little bit bigger, they might kind of, not buy into it, I guess. So I can kind of see why they made him a little bit bigger so they can make the dinosaur designs a little bit bigger. But again, that's just a theory. Who knows? I'm kind of giving them an out here because it is kind of weird they didn't do 6 inch. But it's a little strange. And Malcolm's kind of a hard figure to judge it off of because he's so tall.
All right. Well, let me put my tin hat on and give you my theory here.
Yeah.
So now that he is 6.5 inches, he's a little bit closer to being in scale with the super colossal T-Rex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. And I've seen lots of people take awesome photos already with the Raptor and Ian Malcolm with the super colossal Rex. And it does scale really well. So maybe that's part of their plan all along is to just, have a Rex built in with this line all ready to go.
That would be weird. Master plan.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of more interested to see future figure releases. Not really Owen, but I want to see Alan Grant and Ellie. And I guess we didn't really mention it in park announcements, but it's been teased at New York Comic Con that Dennis Nedry and Dilophosaur are coming to this toy line as well.
Yes.
So that's very exciting. And the toy line, while it's GameStop exclusive right now, in the future it's definitely going to be on EntertainmentEarth.com, and it looks like Amazon as well. So GameStop's losing their exclusivity. I'm not mad about it after they totally flubbed pre-orders, and I'm happy that international collectors can kind of track it down on both these websites too. So that's cool. But yeah, I really want to see the other human figures before I really get weirded out by the strange scale, because again, Malcolm's tall. So once I get my Alan Grant in hand, I'll be I think I'll be happy with it no matter what.
Yeah, I hope they go. I really do hope they go that far, and definitely get Alan Grant. Definitely do Sattler. If they want to throw in Hammond, why not? I'll be happy to see anything they want to give us in terms of those legacy characters.
Would you take a Hammond before a Muldoon?
That's, what? I don't know, because, we have the Raptor already, so we can kind of reenact, a few things if we have Muldoon. So that's a really tough question. I'm inclined to say I would prefer Hammond, but in terms of like posing and photos and all that, I think I would prefer Muldoon.
Yeah, I'd love to see like a Muldoon whose hat comes off. Obviously, we'll have the shotgun, but the likeness may be a little bit more in line with the actual movie character. Because I feel like Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm figures from the 3 3/4 to the Amber collection are it's a huge improvement in likeness. So I'd love to see that with a Muldoon figure as well. I don't know, but Hammond would be great too. I mean, I can see that coming with some great accessories too. So I'm kind of split. Whatever they want to give me that isn't Owen, I'm here for.
Yeah, totally. So the other part of wave 1 is the Velociraptor. And as you noted, Tim, I did do a pretty deep dive on this one in my video review that I published this morning, showcasing that raptor. And although I loved Dr. Malcolm, I don't love the Velociraptor quite as much.
Yeah, I've kind of like, it's one of those figures that instead of growing on me, kind of like, what's the opposite? I don't know. I can't think of a good comparison, but it definitely kind of lost its appeal the longer I've kind of had it out of the package. I think I saw the photos and was very excited about the figure. It looked like very detailed and obviously articulated and all that stuff. And then I got the figure in my hands, and at first I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I really like the soft bendable tail, obviously all the articulation. But when the figure was shown for the first time with photos, people were like, oh, that's just the blue figure repainted. And I was like, that doesn't really bother me. It looks like a Jurassic Raptor to me. But now that I've had it in my hands, the longer I look at it, the less it looks like a Jurassic Raptor, or a Jurassic Park Raptor, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those subtle differences. I mean, you see things like the little bumps on the back of the head. And,
yeah.
Just the way that they proportion, like the snout, it's a little bit different. And what kind of frustrates me is that it would have been easy enough, I feel like, for Mattel just to have re-sculpted the skull. I mean, that's really all they needed to do. Even just the top half.
Jaw. Yeah, just the top part. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little, I understand there's lots of shortcuts and ways to save money and, reasons for production. I totally understand that more than you know. But again, we're talking about a collectible toy line for the original movie series. And it's like, this is just a spot where you shouldn't have gone cheap, and you should have just invested in a little bit of extra tooling for a truly Jurassic looking raptor.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing that bothers me, regardless of, shortcuts or movie designs, is the teeth on this are my biggest gripe. Again, this is a $30 figure. It says 14 and up on the box. So there's no safety issues here. But the teeth are just like these big, round, dull, teeth colored nubs. And for me, it kind of takes away from the figure. If you can manage to get your figure's mouth closed, it looks a little better. But something about the teeth, doesn't really jive for me.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. I mean, they're marketing it as a $30 collector adult figure, yet they took shortcuts like that. Like the teeth definitely look like something that could have come off, the basic line.
Right.
So, I mean, I really don't get it. Even like, like Rebor, if you've ever seen the raptors, they do, like their teeth are basically, they're translucent and they're individually sculpted and they look awesome. Why didn't they do that here? I mean, yeah, it would have been more expensive. That's obvious. But I mean, at the very least, individually sculpt them. Don't just put like a section of like teeth in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a intrinsic part of the dinosaur's design. It's like it's kind of like it's literally the face of the figure, and it just doesn't feel quite right. But we're being tough on it, and I do think it's still a very, very, very cool toy, a very cool Jurassic Raptor. Even if it's not picture perfect, it's still very cool. The articulation's awesome. I've already seen some great toy photos with it, so I don't want to be too hard on it, but
yeah, I do.
Victoria does. But I mean, I see that part of it too. We've waited so long for a collector's line. And yes, a big part of me is like, hey, it's here. We got one. Let's just be happy. But then you just can't help but feel like, oh man, what a missed opportunity. Like this should have been, a little bit more high end for $30, and for waiting all this time, and for having this core toy line that you can kind of make those shortcuts and take the cheap way out. Why don't you do that there, but here kind of really play it up? So yeah, I totally get both sides of it. That the line has just started, so there's a lot more to come, but this definitely is kind of a shaky start.
Yeah, and what I'm telling people in regards to the raptor is that it's the coloration is definitely not Jurassic Park, but if we think about it in terms of what they did rather than what they did, it is actually pretty fun. It does look good. It feels a little bit small to me compared with like Malcolm. I just feel like it might be undersized a little bit, but I feel like Mattel did capture the Jurassic Park raptor in spirit, even if they didn't go all out and exactly reproduce it. I think for the most part they did capture the essence of what we think of when we think of Jurassic Park raptors. So in that regard,
that's cool. A great way to put it. It's the spirit of the raptor, and yeah, the paint coloration isn't perfect, but it's definitely closer for a Mattel toy than we've ever gotten. I think a lot of us use the yellow battle damage raptor as like our official Jurassic Park raptor, even though it's yellow, but it just feels like the closest thing we got. But now we have this one that's actually, obviously it's a different scale, but it feels a lot closer, even if it's still not correct.
Right.
But it's kind of like strange timing. We see this Chronicle Collectibles raptor that is $630 more, $430 more expensive. Very, very total different echelon of collectible, but the paint color on that is just incredible. And it's like, isn't there somewhere in between this could have landed, But it's kind of apples to oranges. And I just think for $30 it could have been a little better, but overall I'm still happy with it. Let's survey the scene around here at the park and take a look around in our next segment, kind of looking at random things happening in the whole world of Jurassic, not just collectibles and toys, which we love to talk about, but what else is happening. And not a lot this week. I think last time we talked, they announced Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum returning for Jurassic World 3, which is huge, and it's hard to top that this week. But we do have a little nugget of information, and that is Battle at Big Rock, which we've talked about at length on the show before, obviously. Tonight, out of nowhere, and probably kind of on the down low, the YouTube video for it got updated slightly so that it's in 4K now instead of just 1080. So for you resolution nerds out there, it's going to look a little nicer. But they also had all these little subtle differences. Like there's tiny scenes that are kind of extended, a couple shots that are new, and then the audio kind of has a lot more depth to it. I mean, you haven't seen it yet, but I can tell you that there's just before the actual battle starts, and they're in their trailer, and they the dad yells out, "Hey, don't let my kid play with the crossbow." You can hear people like screaming and being like, get inside," like, because the dinosaurs or the Triceratops is right in the middle of the camp, and those little audio details weren't there in the first version. So we're kind of getting like a 1.5 version of Battle at Big Rock with a couple extra scenes. Again, that layered audio, it's a little different. And also the credits are longer. And there's like this acoustic Jurassic Park theme that plays during the end part of the credits that's new. So
Interesting.
It's a short film, so you got nothing to lose watching it one more time. But it's nice to see it a little crisper, some fun new little details, and some scenes that are just tweaked a little bit so that there's a couple different views of things you hadn't seen before. So if you haven't seen it, it's a great time to watch it, or just rewatch it, because it's Battle at Big Rock, and I think here on Collect Jurassic World we love it.
We do love it, and I'm definitely going to check that out as soon as we wrap up here. It is really curious. It's kind of like a special edition. Maybe George Lucas was in the area and they let him have a go at it or something.
Right. I think the story here is that it might have been the one that was going to be in theaters or something. I mean, who knows? We'll never know. Or maybe it's a special edition, and maybe there's some CG spaceships in the background that weren't there before.
Sebulba's in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it is interesting, and I will check that out. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear they updated it on YouTube, but I mean, there's not really like 4K on YouTube. It's basically still going to be 1080 after the YouTube
Right,
compression.
exactly.
But if it looks better, that's a good thing. Better is better.
It definitely looks better. I mean, I watched it twice, and the dinosaurs seem more clear in the dark, kind of the dark scenes. Lots of detail there, and the CGI, it just looks great. So, even if it's a slight bump up in scale, it definitely looks better.
All right, so we're going to talk a little collector survival guide, because when you're a toy collector, you sure as heck need every single tool in your collecting arsenal. And Tim, I think one of them is being sure that you are keeping up with toy news sites and social media accounts so that you can be totally up to speed on the latest toys hitting stores, hitting online, and just knowing what to expect when you head out there to the stores.
Totally, and I think we've even talked about it a couple times on the show, how fast things sell out sometimes. And, one of the reasons, or one of the ways you can kind of get ahead of that is by kind of being in the know, connecting in the community, being parts of sites or Facebook groups where that information is freely shared. And obviously a big part of it is timing, being in the right place at the right time. But there's plenty of accounts out there, not just for Jurassic, but for Jurassic too. A little bit of self-promotion for Collect Jurassic. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you hopefully know what Collect Jurassic is. But that's the website, collectjurassic.com, that this podcast is a part of. Also have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. But, definitely on Instagram is where most of the up-to-the-second news comes from for Jurassic collecting in particular. So the second Savage Strike Plesiosaur goes live on Kohl's, we'll roll out a post about it, hey, this is live. So just following the Instagram account is a great way to kind of stay in touch. I hate to be that person who says turn on post notifications, but I get a lot of people who are like, oh man, I missed it. Or they see it a day later because of Instagram's algorithm showing them a day later, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know it was in stock and now it's out of stock. It's like, well, again, I've never told anybody this ever, but I'll say it on the podcast. If you're really, really worried about it, just turn on post notifications, and you'll be able to see when posts go up about things going, in and out of stock, online, spotted in stores. But obviously, we post a lot of other stuff that's not toy news, or not necessarily release news. So you're going to get everything, but that's a great way to do it with the account. But there's other options out there too.
Yeah, especially if you follow me, you'll get all kinds of stuff.
Right. No, we shouldn't focus just on Jurassic. There's obviously lots of other great sites out there.
Yeah, there are. I think if, definitely keep up with the people that are putting the news out there. I mean, you can't find this stuff on CNN or anything like that. I mean, you got to tune into your toy accounts online to know what's good. It is a little bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, and, the downside is, sometimes you do have scalpers that are also keeping an eye on these accounts, and you have some collectors that'll just buy as much as they can. So that is the downside of stuff getting shared online, is that you're kind of you're casting to a wide audience, but you're also picking up some of the people that might make things run out before you can get there. But I mean, if people weren't posting about it at all, I mean, nobody would know about this. Exactly. Right. Nobody would know about this stuff. So hugely important. And, not just for Jurassic, but like Tim said, Star Wars, you have amazing websites like Yak Face that were just killing it on Forced Friday, basically down to the minute news on, oh, this online store has that, this store has this is in stock, go get this before it sells out. And just awesome coverage like that. And if you want a little bit more of a general, toy news, Tim, we were talking about Toy Shiz a little bit earlier. Yeah. And he's great. I mean, he kind of covers a little bit of everything. So if you're just kind of a general toy collector, you collect multiple toy lines, definitely be sure you're following Toy Shiz on Instagram.
Yeah, he does everything. I mean, he definitely touches on Marvel for sure and Star Wars, but he does Fortnite figures, which obviously are very big right now. He does Jurassic, which is awesome. Obviously, we love that. But just random stuff like Mario figures. I mean, he just anything that's cool. I feel like he's like kind of on top of, like, I don't think we've talked about it a lot in this show, but like the Jumanji figures that came out in Walmart a few weeks ago, like he was posting about those. So I think he's like us. He just likes toys in general, and he might have favorites, but he does a good job of kind of, sharing all of the news. And he might not hit every granular release, but really like his account, really entertaining, funny guy. So that's another great resource. But you mentioned Yak Face, and I always have to shout out Yak Face because I'm not a hardcore Star Wars toy collector. I just dabble in it because I like Star Wars. But when I did, I always appreciated Yak Face for the website, not even social media, yakface.com. They just do a great job of kind of like bite-sized news, always kind of staying on top of things, and just providing useful information like barcodes for when I need to go to the store and look up for something, or rumors that aren't like totally useless but like actually substantiated rumors. Just a really great site, and totally my personal kind of inspiration for the Collect Jurassic website was definitely Yak Face, because that's what I wanted for Jurassic collecting. Nice. So, and it didn't exist. So it wouldn't have happened without kind of seeing how Yak Face did it with Star Wars. So kind of a nice full circle there.
Yeah, no, that is super cool. And, a lot of these accounts have their own websites. So, I mean, like Yak Face, so definitely, hit up their sites regularly, once a day, whatever, and just kind of brush up on what they're reporting, because it's usually correct. And, it's usually just a matter of time before these toys start hitting, in which case, start following their social medias, because they're going to be posting about it. If you want to be first to get the latest toy and, whatever toy line it is, then... these days the reality, Tim, is just that, we have to rely on online stores to get our fix, because, retail oftentimes just isn't coming through for us. So if we miss out buying it online, we usually have to wait a little bit. But, if you want to be first to get that toy, definitely be sure that you're there to get that news when it comes through.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the landscape's kind of changing, where it used to be like, I go to the website to check the news to see what the newest thing is. And there's definitely a lot of toy collectors who still operate like that. But social media really is kind of the forefront of staying up to date, because, from experience, it takes me 1 minute to write an Instagram post to let people know, Amber Collection is spotted on Amazon. Whereas if I was going to say, I'm going to add that as an article on my website, it takes me considerably longer to put it on my website. And when you're talking about a toy going in stock for 20 minutes before it sells out, like, obviously time is of the essence. So social media really is at the forefront. But I would say for Collect Jurassic, I mean, you're helping out on the site, writing these kind of more in-depth, bigger picture articles. Like, the website will definitely always carry collecting news, all the big stuff, all the important information that maybe is a little bit too long for an Instagram post. But, a great thing about these other toy websites too is they have other kind of things to offer, and Collect Jurassic's no different. Like, there's community content on there, and there's, great articles that are kind of looking at bigger picture things. We obviously did a few articles, toy previews, kind of looking at Claire and how her representation in the Jurassic toy line. And you also have some other stuff coming up. And, I think that's what's great about the websites themselves, is if you're not just after toy news, like, oh, when is this coming out? Like, there's a kind of a bigger part of the kind of collecting experience that you can get from those websites.
Yeah. And I think what kind of prompted, this specific collector survival guide was, I get a lot of people, writing in and, commenting on my tweets and whatnot and saying, hey, I didn't know this was out. When did this come out? And I'm like, this came out last year. So it's like, just simple things like, you would know about a lot, even, the minutia of these lines that we collect. I mean, you would know about it if you were actively following the different accounts. So, anytime people say, oh, I didn't know this was out, or I didn't know that was a thing. It's like, yeah, it is. And I have it in my collection, and, they reported on it last year, and, it hit stores a few months ago. And, but yeah, I mean, if you're passionate about the toys, especially if it's a very specific toy line, I mean, there's somebody out there to cater to your interests. So definitely hit them up.
Yeah. And it's not just for hardcore collectors. I mean, there's definitely a way to casually enjoy it and stay up to date, and just look at cool toy news, even if you're not planning on buying everything. It's kind of nice to just be exposed to it, I guess, if you're as into these toys as you probably are if you're listening to a podcast devoted to collecting them. So,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it's a great bit of information. All right, who's ready for another Jurassic Clash? Everyone's favorite segment here on Collect Jurassic World. I have no data to back that claim up, but I feel like it's probably one of the favorite segments. So we'll go ahead and get started with this entry into Jurassic Clash, and we're going to be doing something very cool today. All Victoria's idea, and when I saw it, I was very excited. So why don't you talk about what we will be putting up against each other in Jurassic Clash?
Yeah, certainly. So this is an interesting one. I kind of didn't want to touch it at first, but then I kind of realized that it's sort of, a pivotal component of, this toy line. So,
yeah.
We have the Kenner JP T-Rexes. So there was, the classic Red Rex that we all know about. During the Lost World, they did a couple. There was the Bull T-Rex and there was the Thrasher T-Rex. And all of them great Rexes. I know a lot of us have our favorites, but I kind of thought that, we really needed to tackle which of these original Rexes reigns supreme above all of them. So this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. Very tough.
It's a good one. And I don't know how you want to start it.
So are we talking just adult size Rex figures?
I think so. I think like the Red Rex, the Bull Rex, and the Thrasher.
Okay, so we're not going to count the juvenile T-Rex with the Dino damage, even though that is a great classic Jurassic figure. It's not really fair to compare, but honorable mention.
Yeah, I was thinking we could do that one later with the repaints that they did.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those. So actually, that's a great point. All right, so we'll go ahead and get things started. We have our 5 categories that we grade every figure on, which are sculpt, paint, articulation, action feature, and fun factor.
Yep.
What should we start with? Should we start with the good old Red Rex?
All right, so that original 1993 Kenner Red Rex. I still remember waking up Christmas morning and finding it under the Christmas tree. Nothing will replace that memory. It's amazing. And I still have her by my side after all this time. So Tim, the sculpt on this one, I think by default is going to be one of the best because it was based off of that Stan Winston maquette.
Yeah. It's really hard for me to not be like incredibly biased for this figure because it's like everyone's, a collector of a certain age, it's like the first T-Rex we probably had. And it's the Jurassic Park T-Rex too, whether or not it's still, 100% mold accurate. When you kind of look at what Mattel has done is, kind of funny, but no, I think this one, you got the neutral pose as far as the mold goes. The face detail looks great. There's lots of like lines and scale detail, so I think it looks really good for a toy made in 1993. Yeah,
I mean, let me set the scene. Like back in 1993. The best T-Rex that you could have was probably, like an Imperial or a definitely dinosaurs, definitely along those lines. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Like
so
one of those.
This thing was really like so excuse the pun, breaking the mold as far as, toy designs went. And we can get into the other features later, but definitely this mold looks great. But kind of coming up to the Lost World Kenner T-Rex figures, let's take a look at the Bull T-Rex next in terms of mold. Another very impressive looking figure.
Yeah, it is. It's a very impressive looking dinosaur. It's very sizable. It's got those, eyes that are kind of like those, what would you even call those? Like beaded eyes or?
Yeah, totally. Those really help it kind of stand out from the other Rexes.
They do. And it's got that very like tropical color palette to it, with the blues and the greens and, like the grays and definitely very tropical in feeling. And it looks very menacing. I mean, it definitely looks like a Bull T-Rex.
Yeah, no, like just kind of keeping it in terms of like mold. I feel like, if I'm going to take something against it, I always was kind of bothered by the long, like, toenails. Things got like big toes, big feet. So obviously for being able to stand for its balance, but that's kind of a mark against it. But otherwise, I like how like kind of bulky its neck is, and it has this huge stomach for the action feature, which we'll get into. But it just, like you said, it feels like a bull Rex. It's like the Big Daddy T-Rex. So a great mold. And obviously just very sizable, the biggest Rex that we're talking about right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't feel like it looks very much like the Jurassic Park or Lost World T-Rex, but in fact, I would say it's probably like the least screen accurate. But at the same time, it's a very massive toy. It's a very impressive toy, and you can't really deny that.
Yeah, I feel like the eyes are very unique to it, and there's no other toy that has eyes like that, which is cool. But at the same time, I feel like they do kind of work against it in terms of movie accuracy. I'm trying to imagine this figure without those eyes and having painted eyes instead, and it might feel a little bit more movie accurate to me if it had kind of traditional painted eyes. Yeah,
definitely. It definitely wouldn't look the same. I mean, that's kind of one of its key, defining aspects is the fact that it does have those eyes. And we should note that this one actually got retooled in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if we want to include that one in our little contest, but it is a retool.
Technically, it's Hasbro T-Rex. That one's a Hasbro T-Rex.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a hybrid. Before there were hybrids.
But it does have a cool paint job, which we should mention when we get to the paint category, but we won't count it for mold because it's the exact same thing.
Right.
And next up we have the Thrasher T-Rex. This is one I did not have as a kid. Like, I didn't own it till I was an adult collector.
Yeah, so, I didn't have either of these as a kid. I had the Red Rex. I never had the Bull. I never had the Thrasher, but I definitely did see them. And I remember seeing the Thrasher only once, and it was at KB Toys. Which probably dates me, just mentioning KB Toys, but not that any of this other stuff hasn't already, but it's definitely got a very impressive sculpt as well. It's supposed to be the female Rex, I suppose, from the Lost World, even though it's kind of colored like the Bull, somewhat. But yeah, no, it's a very impressive sculpt. I would say that there are some things about it that are more impressive than the Red Rex in terms of sculpting, like the teeth.
Yeah, the teeth are what I remember about it more than anything. They're just so finely detailed.
They're awesome. And I mean, you look at it, it certainly looks like a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I mean, it's got that going for it.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great mold, and if I had to rank it, I would definitely rank it well above the Bull Rex in terms of kind of likeness to the movie, but the detail is all there too. I mean, all these Kenner figures, especially these bigger ones, had great detail on them. So the Thrasher Rex is definitely no different in terms of mold. We really didn't talk like kind of where does the material they use for these figures fit into our whole Jurassic Clash? Is that mold when we're talking about the kind of the soft rubber of the Thrasher Rex, or is that somewhere with fun factor? I don't know. You tell me.
Interesting. I guess that would kind of fit under. I guess that could be sculpt.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like we should maybe wedge it in there because the Red Rex obviously has a real feel skin that we didn't talk about, but it's kind of a soft rubber. Same with the Bull Rex, kind of almost the same kind of rubber. But this Thrasher Rex is a lot softer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot more, it's like gushier. I don't know if that's a word.
It's interesting. It's interesting that for that figure, they chose to kind of make it softer.
Yeah, I mean, it does have like the hard ribs and the legs and arms and all that, but the rest of it is pretty soft. And I know that the Bull T-Rex also has a pretty soft head, like you can grab it and just squish it, but this one does feel a little bit more plush for some reason.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you don't think that has an impact on like the way you receive a toy necessarily, but especially in today's day and age where all of our dinosaur figures are basically hard plastic. But I mean, as a kid, I always loved how soft the Red Rex was. And, even though I didn't get the Thrasher Rex until I was older, it definitely was like, I appreciated the fact that it was a little bit more real feeling than just another toy. It even helps to just looking at it, not even touching it. You can just kind of, the skin feels a little bit more real looking because of how kind of loose it is, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, the real feel skin was one of the hallmarks of the Kenner JP line. Because, when you're comparing it to those other lines I mentioned back at that time,
right?
None of them were like that. They were like very hard plastic, and not even the plastic we have now. These were like really hard plastic. Some of them were like really hard rubber, like the Imperial dinosaurs. But this was like leagues beyond anything you could even imagine. Like, it was hard to believe that, toys like that existed at the time. So, yeah, no, it was really a remarkable component of those older T-Rexes.
Yeah. So this is a tough one. I don't think we're going to give it to the Bull Rex, but mold or sculpt and mold wise, Thrasher versus Red Rex. Are we going to let our kind of biased memories win and give it to the Red Rex, or are we going to give it to the Thrasher here?
Yeah, that's a tough one because, like I said, the Red Rex is based off that Stan Winston maquette, and even though some of the features sort of fell through, like the shape of the jaws and the shape of the teeth, it still has those proportions. It still has, that really long tail. It's still got that very thin neck. And, I mean, there's some really great things about the Thrasher, like we were saying, but when you look at it, it kind of does have a short tail. The neck is kind of fat. I'm going to give it to the Red Rex, I think.
You're going to give it to the Red Rex. We're going to let sentimentality win this round.
No, I just justified it for you.
Give it to the Red Rex. No, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair. So we'll move on to our next category here, which is paint. We have a lot of different paint jobs across all three of these Rexes. Red Rex definitely has the most kind of toned down paint coloration, but again, it's just classic. I mean, when I drew dinosaurs as a kid, if I was drawing a T-Rex, it always looked exactly like the Red Rex.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's true. It definitely has the most muted color palette to it. I think that this coloration is based off the novel T-Rex, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever be able to get that confirmed, but yeah, definitely. It seems like they kind of took the verbal description in the Michael Crichton book and kind of made it into toy form, probably out of necessity because they were making these toys before anything for the movie was nailed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is interesting because if they had the Winston maquette, and they would have known what colors it was, so why did they color it red? But I know that it seems like they were working off most of the descriptions from the novel for most of the toys, so maybe they thought, well, we may as well, do this one in those colors too, I guess.
No, maybe, yeah. It's kind of, like I said, we'll probably never know for sure, but fun fact about this figure, and you probably know this, but if you have any Jurassic Park release from the first movie that has the card back with all the different figures that you can buy in the toy line on the back of it, the picture of the T-Rex is not actually the picture of the figure. It's a picture of the Stan Winston maquette. So the actual picture on the back of the box for the T-Rex looks way cooler than the actual figure you would get. It looks awesome. Its legs are splayed out. It's got way more paint on it. It still looks sort of close because it's scaled next to the human figures in the photo. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of a funny little piece of trivia. Back in the day where they didn't get quite as slapped on the wrist for false advertising,
right.
They put a movie quality maquette and said, you can buy this T-Rex toy. And then the T-Rex toy looked arguably a lot different than the actual model. But some of the aesthetic of it kind of carries over.
They don't even put toys on the back of the boxes anymore.
No, they just try to avoid the issue altogether.
Yeah, so, but yeah, no, this is, definitely a good one. And it did kind of perplex me as a kid, why the one on the box looked better than the actual toy. But I said, it didn't really bother me because there was nothing like these toys at the time.
Right. No, totally. I think, maquette or real toy aside, this paint coloration for me is personally kind of steeped in nostalgia. And I love it, even though it's not accurate to the movie. I just love it. And if tomorrow Mattel released a Red Rex, like an Extreme Chomping T-Rex with Red Rex colors, I'd be all over it. So, classic paint job for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about the bull T-Rex and the Thrasher T-Rex. The colors are quite different, though they are a little bit similar to each other than they are to the Red Rex. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely feel like they're kind of obviously in the same movie. But the bull T-Rex to me has always been a little bit more vibrant, as you said earlier. I just like all the different tones on its back. Obviously, it's got that white underbelly too, which kind of contrasts the rest of the figure a little bit better. We got the painted nails. So, a lot of cool stuff here going on with this paint job. And it does, I think if you look at like concept art for the bull T-Rex, it's very accurate on this figure.
Yeah, because wasn't the bull T-Rex kind of based off of the Gulper that they had planned for the 93 line?
Right, yeah, no, the Gulper Rex is actually, the first version of this figure. So the bull T-Rex probably wasn't even created for Lost World. It was just sort of a recycled dead concept from the first Jurassic Park toy line, which is kind of interesting because it ended up working out perfectly.
Yeah, no, it did. And, we ended up getting two T-Rexes in the Lost World line. So awesome.
Yeah, and so you said that they look very similar. The Thrasher T-Rex, I think there's a reason I never got this when I was a kid, and that's because the paint coloration for me was always a little bit, I don't know, it looks almost feminine, I guess. I don't know. It's very light colored, and I always felt like as a kid it didn't feel as scary as like the other T-Rex figures I could buy, and that's why I never picked it up. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely much lighter than the Bull Rex. Still has that white underbelly. But another thing that bothered me about this figure, not as a kid, but kind of as an adult collecting and finding loose figures, the paint on the Thrasher T-Rex does not hold up. I mean, it is like you'll be lucky if you find one that looks semi-decent.
Yep. No, that's true. I mean, I think you'd have to essentially get one in the box that has never been even like touched. To get one with perfect paint, because I have a loose one that I got off somebody on Instagram about probably a little over a year ago now, and it's got really good paint. It's not perfect. I mean, it's definitely rubbed off in a couple spots. So I don't know what was going on with that, but there was definitely an issue
plastic.
there. Yeah, it could have been.
That soft skin, yeah. No, I mean, when I'm at like toy shows or toy shops and I see a Thrasher Rex, he usually looks like he's been pretty well played with. A lot of the belly paint, the white paint especially, is rubbed off. So if it spent any time in any kid's toy box, it definitely got some paint rub off here. But we won't keep that. We won't score against that. That's just sort of a arbitrary kind of observation. But it's just interesting because the bull T-Rex I feel like holds up significantly better than the Thrasher T-Rex.
Yeah, true.
So,
all right,
for this category, are we going to give in to nostalgia again, or are we going to let someone else win?
Well, we got to also make sure that we're discussing the best qualities, not just nostalgia, but.
That's right.
Nostalgia aside, is the Red Rex still better, or is it just me?
I feel like the Bull Rex should win this round because it's accurate to the movie. It's like a vibrant looking toy. And I think when Mattel released their version of the Lost World Rex, people were very excited, but they were also a little bit let down by that it was kind of way more simple than Kenner's Bull Rex. And it kind of opened my eyes to like a lot of Bull Rex love out there. Like people, that's a very iconic Lost World toy.
Yes.
So I mean, I kind of feel like paint job wise, even though it's not the original T-Rex, I feel like this is a sort of iconic paint scheme when you think about Jurassic toys in general. Yeah,
I can dig that. I think that's fair.
Ding ding. Then the point goes to Bull Rex. We'll let Bull win this one. And that brings us to our next category, which is going to be a little tricky on some of these figures. Right. And that is articulation.
Yeah, so the Red Rex basically has 2 points of articulation, right? That's it.
Right, yep, yeah. And which is funny, because as a kid, you did not care. It was not like I ever noticed. I was never like, man, I wish this thing would pivot down on its hips so it could eat somebody. It's like, no, you made it work. Even though it didn't move at all, you made it work.
I mean, the Stegosaurus had 0, didn't it?
Exactly, and it still worked.
Yeah, so, it was totally sufficient. I mean, sure, it would have been nice if it had like an articulated jaw or whatnot, but I mean, it didn't matter, and it is what it is. We can only really judge it based on what they did at the time, and, it has 2 points of articulation.
Right, and it's not like this built out of this rigid, hard plastic, so the tail does bend. The neck bends within reason. You should be careful, though, because you can hurt something. And you can also close the jaws around the figure if you wanted, because it's all this kind of soft, rubbery plastic. So It's not like it's this static figure that can't move. I mean, the only true points of articulation it has are its arms, which when you're talking about a T-Rex with tiny arms, it's not really like you can make him surprised or you can make him running really fast, but there's really not a lot you can do with those two little arms moving back and forth.
It's absolutely true. So moving on to the bull T-Rex. All right, so this one, you can move the arms just as you can with the Red Rex.
Yeah.
What about the legs?
Nope, it's just like the Red Rex. It's literally just a static figure. I mean, there's definitely an action feature we can get into in our next category, but really this is in the same boat as Red Rex in that it has no articulation, but it does benefit from being like a softer figure, so you can close the mouth. You can't really... you can bend the neck, you can bend the tail, but the legs are pretty much solid plastic on this guy, similar to the Red Rex, so he's not really moving at all.
Okay, so I have the 2009 version, and that one does have articulated ankles, so they did update that a little bit. But,
oh yeah, man, I totally forgot about that, and they probably only did that to fit it in the box better.
It could very well be.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. So that is going to be the same. So we move over to the Thrasher T-Rex, and this one, let's see, it's got the arms. It's also got articulated legs.
It does, yeah. The only Rex here that has hip pivots. Which I guess, is cool because you can kind of put them down in sort of a lower growling position or, make it roar triumphantly. So a little bit different than the other figures in that you can do that. Not a lot different, though. But I guess you could do running poses, too, which is kind of cool.
That's true. The only problem about this having articulated legs, though, it is almost impossible to stand it up.
Yeah, I feel like they probably came out of the box loose. Like it was never a tight joint, if I can remember. Of all the figures I've ever handled, I feel like every single one for the Thrasher, the legs have always been pretty loose.
Yeah, it definitely has loose legs, but it's also very front heavy. So I feel like even if it had tight legs, like would it stand?
Wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
it wouldn't
matter. I don't think so.
Yeah, but it is nice that they added the articulation here.
Yeah, and I think by default we kind of got to give it to the Thrasher since it is more articulated.
I have to agree. Yeah, it definitely is the clear winner here by default.
Okay, so each Rex has a point right now, so that's interesting to note.
That's right. Yeah, no, they all have their strengths, but I think the action feature definitely is a little bit more of a toss-up.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so the Red Rex... Basically, you press the side of its body and it lets out this very generic T-Rex roar.
Yeah.
And that's roar, and that's kind of it.
Hold up. Let me see if mine has batteries. Give me 1 second.
There we go.
So yeah, that Rex has a generic roar, as you said, and I'll go ahead and have him shout into the mic so the listeners can hear it. You hear that on your end?
Sounds like nostalgia to me.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's definitely not a iconic Jurassic roar, but to a kid it was, right? I mean, I don't think I ever really picked it apart until later in life, thinking like,
exactly.
Oh, that's not at all like a Jurassic Park T-Rex. No,
yeah.
It got the job done.
It was fine. None of the roars in that original line sounded like the movie counterpart. So, remember that screaming raptor?
Right. Yeah, totally. It's kind of like a haunted ghost banshee raptor a little bit.
Yeah,
an actual Jurassic Park velociraptor.
Yeah, none of them sounded accurate. So it's like, okay, we can't really fault it for that. Really, the only other thing you can do with that, I think, is you can kind of make the mouth open if you pinch its neck.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that's...
The mouth kind of opens with the ribs.
Right.
This
well,
one
yeah,
doesn't.
that's true.
Yeah. Oh, no, I see what you're saying. You can kind of do it again with the neck. Yeah, no, totally. That's like a secret feature. But it does do one other thing. You haven't forgot, right?
It stomps.
I mean, that's awesome. That's so cool. And that is kind of like from the movie a little bit.
It is. It does sound like a gunshot, but yes.
Well, I mean, the approaching like thunderous stomp of the Rex is from the movie. But as a kid, I always played with it. I always thought it was really cool. I always made sure that my Rex took giant, hard leaps so that it made the noise.
Of course.
But I mean, I feel like the Red Rex, that's like an iconic action feature, even if it's not the most exciting thing. The stomping is really cool and something that you see like in some toys today. So kind of like a legacy feature, if you will.
Right. Yeah, that's true. All right. So moving on to the Bull T-Rex. This one has probably the most well-known action feature, I would say. And basically it can eat people.
Yeah, basically, it can eat people. That's a great way to put it. And it came with like this weird action figure. It was not like any other Kenner figure. It was like this solid sculpted person in terror, and then they're glued inside this like plastic cage or pod. Yeah. That I like. I want to say it's inspired by like the hide in Lost World. But like it really isn't, because that was probably developed before Lost World, so it's like kind of like a shark cage for people. But anyway, the Bull T-Rex can eat it whole, or any action figure really. But what's cool about the figure is they kind of like they molded it so it has a big open neck, so it can kind of eat anything.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's fun. I mean, when we talk about action features, this is the kind of stuff that makes you feel like a kid, being able to put like things inside your dinosaur's mouth. And yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And it comes out of the belly, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. So it's like got a big slit down there, which is cool. I think even as a kid, I was always like, even using the slit, like when you kill the T-Rex and you cut it open, like in Jaws or something, like it's just a really cool mechanic that they did. Like you said, it just kind of lets your imagination run wild, and obviously dinosaurs eat things, and it was just kind of meant to be.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a blast. So then we have the Thrasher. Now, this one has a very interesting gimmick. So it has like this very elaborate capture gear that goes around its ankles, that goes up over its head. And so the way that you activate this one is you kind of twist on the tail after you've gotten all the capture gear on. And it basically just like, I mean, I guess it's supposed to seem like it's shaking it off, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Thrashing it off, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Thrashing it. So I have this one, and when I got it, it had all of the capture gear on it. Honestly, it's not that fun. I mean, it's cool that it does this stuff, but it's not very exciting when you actually do it.
Right. It's like, why bother? I'd rather like your jaw open or something like that. But just kind of wiggling back and forth without any other accessory is kind of weird.
Yeah, I think part of it is like, oh gosh, now I have to put all this stuff back on it.
Right. I mean, the capture gear is cool though. It's kind of got like a, tranquilized T-Rex from Roland Tembo kind of vibe when you can articulate the legs so they kind of lay on the ground with it. I can't say I've ever like played or handled with the figure with the capture gear. So can you kind of like recreate that pose at all?
If you pull the legs back, you can kind of make it lay down. Yes.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's one of the things that they did well with the Lost World line is, the capture gear was, they did some really great capture gear, and it's something that I really wish Mattel would emphasize a little bit more.
Totally.
I mean, it was a big part of Fallen Kingdom, so I'm kind of a little surprised that, we haven't seen more capture gear. Right.
I remember like when Lost World figures first started hitting and they were in Walmart, like seeing all the basic figures like the Pachycephalosaur and the Velociraptor having this capture gear and kind of, thinking like, well, what's this mean, for the Jurassic franchise before Lost World came out? And obviously it plays into it because, the movie engine comes and captures all the dinosaurs. So kind of a cool way they brought that into the toy line. And obviously they brought it here with the Thrasher Rex too.
Yes. Yep, yeah, absolutely.
More pieces to lose though.
More pieces to lose, which is never a fun thing. All right. So we've talked about all three of the Rexes. So for action feature, what are you thinking?
I don't know. This one's real hard for me because it feels like the Bull T-Rex has got a great, gulping action, but I gotta love the T-Rex stomping noise. Again, that's like a legacy toy feature because we know that Hasbro's Jurassic World Rex had it. I can't even remember the name of the T-Rex toy, the big one.
The Stomp and Strike.
Stomp and Strike. And a Mattel figure has it, right? I'm not crazy. The Indominus? Does something have it?
It's the Thrash and Throw.
The Thrash and Throw. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like a cool feature that's kind of lived through the ages, but I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one. Do we give it to the Bull T-Rex?
It is a tough one because I feel like, yes, that's the most fun feature, but the nostalgia is kind of tugging at me. It's kind of saying, that Red Rex was a lot of fun for you to play with as an 8-year-old, so...
Yeah. I'm sorry. We're going to have to get maybe a little biased here and give this one to the Red Rex.
All right, let's give it to the Red Rex.
Sorry, Bull T-Rex. Lots of fun times with you, but I mean, come on, that stomping was just too cool as a kid, and even though the roar is not accurate, it's still a T-Rex roar to me, and I'll take it any day.
You can't beat that. Funny funny little side story real quick. My brothers had the same, we both got him on Christmas morning, and I don't know what happened with his, but it went haywire or something, and it was just like roaring like nonstop until the battery died.
Like that. I had one like that just roared nonstop.
So weird.
No, I mean, since I've been collecting toys, I really got into collecting as like a high schooler. And we bought like a bunch of these Red Rexes, and we would like repaint them, and we would like take them apart and fix them. And we definitely had one that was just like nonstop roaring, just nonstop. So
yeah,
might have been like a semi, like might have been like something that happened a lot with a lot of different Rexes.
Yep. Yeah. And my brothers eventually, like, he was very rough with his toys. I wasn't rough with my toys, but he was. And the neck on his tore. And eventually it was just like dangling on the body, and you could see all the cotton inside was exposed, and the black like electronics box was exposed, and wasn't
There's
pretty.
Cotton in these. It's so weird. It's strange when you cut open one of these, what's inside.
Like a stuffed animal.
Yeah, no, totally.
All right, so it's all down to the fun factor.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. I mean, it's obviously nostalgia is weighing heavily on us in this version of Jurassic Clash, but fun factor wise, I mean, we've probably already talked at length with how much fun the Red Rex can be, even without articulation.
Exactly. You don't need the articulation. I mean, it does what it needs to do. It stands there. Losing my voice now. It stands there. It
looks pretty.
It looks gorgeous. It's got a really, film accurate sculpt, and it roars and it stomps. I mean, what's not fun about that?
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need. But the Bull T-Rex, of course, with its fun factor, again, we have that gulping feature. We have great looking movie accurate coloring, which always kind of, sways us a little bit when you can really match it up to the movie. And I got to mention those eyes again. I mean, the eyes are a very cool part of the Bull T-Rex because it makes it look a little bit more like a real animal. But at the same time, it kind of sets it apart from like every other Kenner release.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. No, and then of course you have the fact that it eats humans. So that's just plain fun as well. And
you kind of get a human figure with it. Again, he's like a sculpted guy in terror with no articulation that you can't even get out of the little shark cage thing.
Right.
I remember the cage has like these little flags that flip up too, so that if you put it in the mouth a certain way, it won't swallow. It's almost like a safety feature of the dinosaur shark cage. Kind of random, but it's there.
Yeah. No, it's definitely there. And then the Thrasher, I mean, it's pretty. If you can find one in nice condition, the paint looks really nice. But the action feature ultimately is just okay. It's not like that great. It's okay to do it once or twice, but then it's like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not like a Bull T-Rex that has eaten. Your average 10-year-old's Bull T-Rex has eaten like 300 figures in its lifetime, but Thrasher T-Rex is probably only broken out of its capture gear a handful of times.
Right.
Because like you said, it's not super fun to put back together.
Nope.
I did kind of realize as we wind down this Jurassic Clash, we didn't really mention the Chaos Effect counterparts, which for Omega T-Rex and Thrasher has one too. I can't remember what it might even just be called. I don't know. Is it called Alpha T-Rex? No, that can't be right. That's the Alpha Raptor. But there's Chaos Effect versions of both of these Lost World figures with pretty elaborate paint schemes. I actually had the Omega T-Rex as a kid. They're fun too. I mean, I think we won't go back and talk about them, and kind of make them part of this fight, but they're worth mentioning. I mean, the Omega T-Rex, the one I had, was wild. It was like bright orange. It was very cool.
Yeah, those were definitely insane.
The only reason I remembered it is because the little guy in the cage that came with the Omega Rex, he had a different colored shirt even. Like, they just couldn't just straight up repack it. They had to paint the terrified guy in a different paint color. Yeah,
that's true. And also worth noting that even though the Thrasher and the Bull were repainted, the original Rex never got a repaint, never got a reissue.
Which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it makes it even especially unique.
Yeah, it's like Michael Jordan number 23. Like, they retired the mold and it doesn't get to come back because it's so good and you can't improve upon perfection. I shouldn't say that because we haven't picked our winner yet, but yeah.
Tim, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I'm thinking that we're gonna have to give Fun Factor to Red Rex.
Yes, we are.
And we're gonna have to give the whole thing to Red Rex because it's such an awesome figure.
It is, and if you think about it in hindsight, there was really no way that we weren't going to arrive at this outcome somehow or another.
It's true. I mean, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, Bull T-Rex. Maybe if we had pitted ourselves against each other, I might have put all my weight behind the Bull T-Rex because for me, I did have it as a kid, and it was lots of fun. But I mean, the Red T-Rex is the one you keep coming back to.
Yeah, it's true. It's the classic. It's the original. It's like like Coca-Cola classic, and like it's like the original that you can't mess with perfection. Is basically what I'm trying to say, and that's basically a perfect toy for its time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've gotten fancier things since then. Mattel has done some really fancy Rexes, but
they have.
At the end of the day, you can't get past that real feel skin. You can't get past, the screen accuracy and, just the fun factor and the nostalgia behind the whole thing. Like, for me, that's always number one in my heart. So,
for sure. I think you said it great. Like, Mattel's done some great stuff. Their mold looks insane. I mean, the head and everything just looks so perfect. But there's just something about this original toy that captures something that those figures don't.
Right.
And, that's why it'll always be classic. People that have even dabble in vintage Jurassic collecting, like, this is a figure they have to have. So it's just iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Red Rex reigns supreme yet again, and probably for all time.
No, totally. And again, I think it's just kind of funny that they never repainted it when you have so many repaints across all of Jurassic collecting. Like you said, you just can't improve upon perfection.
Exactly. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Tim, and we hope you'll check us out online. Obviously, you can find Collect Jurassic at collectjurassic.com. Also on social media, which is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all at /CollectJurassic. You can also get in touch with us directly with our email at collectjurassic@gmail.com.
And you can find me online by visiting the Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Victoria's Cantina and on Twitter at Vic's Cantina. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave us a review and give us a rating. You'll help other Jurassic fans and collectors be able to discover the show for themselves.
So thank you for visiting. We hope you've enjoyed your visit to the park.
Please make your way towards the main gate. We hope you'll book a return visit for another adventure into Collect Jurassic World.